Well folks, we are back at the Ford Fiasco behind me here, and in the previous video you will have seen me getting the welding sorted out on the passenger sill and straightening out a couple of bits of bodywork here and there. So that's all done. So now what I want to do is I want to start stripping off the external pieces of trim. So things like the bumpers, the lights, and I will be taking the glass out as well, but we're not going to do that in this video because I want to sand it back before we get the glass out. So let's get it to a point where we can actually start sanding. I mean, it's all pretty straightforward stuff here. You know, there's really not that much external trim on this car. It's not like a modern yoke. The bumpers should be fairly straightforward to remove. But what we need to do is just feel our way through it and kind of just take our time. And as we go, what I'll do is I'll start formulating a shopping list on my phone as well of bits and pieces that we're going to need. Things like this passenger door lock, for example, and the rear light clusters. For some reason they're all cracked and broken down the side there. I don't know if that's something that just happens with these or not. I do have the trim for down there, so that's inside the car. And yeah, I mean, most of the stuff is there and is probably relatively serviceable. Things like the window rubbers and stuff like that there, like the window scrapers, are not the best, so we probably will end up getting a couple of them. Depends on how much they cost, of course, as well. We want to try and keep costs down on this car. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by removing things like the window wipers and things like the bumpers and lights and all that as well. So let's get stuck in. Now, I've never worked on an old Ford before, so this is all kind of new to me, but I'm just trying to figure out how the indicator unit is held in. It couldn't be as simple as this spring here, could it? Oh my god. That is so cool. Right. Well, if everything's that simple, this is only going to be a 5-minute long video. So let's get that out. I'm going to get you guys in the stand. There's a single 8mm bolt at the top of the light cluster here, or the headlight unit. So, given how easy the indicator unit came out, look at that. I'm really starting to like this car, you know that? Nope, we can get it out like that. And we'll just pop the screw back in the hole so we don't lose that. There's the light unit out. One bolt. I mean, literally. And it was never going to fall out, was it? Couldn't do that while I was on the other side because I couldn't reach this and I didn't want the headlight unit to end up falling on the ground and breaking. But that's the headlights and front indicators out already. I'm just trying to figure out how to get the front bumper cap off. And I think what it is literally just kind of hooked around. Yeah, I think that's it. So we just need to kind of pry it off here and then it'll come off there and slide off the piece at the back. So let's just try and do that very gently. Obviously we're going to be painting the bumpers, so it does slide along that, but I just need to figure out how. It might be a case where you have to actually undo the front bumper. And then the whole assembly comes off as one piece. So how do we get the front bumper off is the next question. That might make more sense actually. They might be in the inner wings. That's the sound of calling. Yeah, there's two big rusty nuts in there. And they're what need to come off. So let's do that. Nearly had it and had to break, didn't it? Alright, well, not to worry. We'll figure that out afterwards. And sure enough, I was right. That just slides off then once you get these nuts off. I exercised a bit more patience on the other side. I really shouldn't have got at that with the impact gun. I would be causing problems for myself by doing that. But I used a ratchet on the far side. I just went back and forth with it, and it's off. Still working on the front of the car. Let's get the bonnet emblem off, which is just stuck on by adhesive. Grand, right, okay. Let's see if we can clean that up if needs be. We'll replace. There we go. Adhesive, as I said. But yeah, we'll see if we can polish that up and reuse it. Throw it in the box. I'm going to take off these bumper brackets, and so far as I can tell, look at that. This car just falls apart for you. It's brilliant. I'm going to take off the wiper arms now. I don't think I need to take the spindles out. I can just tape around them. So just get the arms off. Ground. Now I'm going to take out the window squirters. You want to know why I'm not using a manual? Because I actually enjoy doing it this way. Just figuring stuff out. There's something kind of cathartic about it. Yeah, of course I could look at a manual and figure out how to do stuff, but you know what? I don't want to. It's my car. And that's what I'm doing. Okay, what you have to do is go in front of it, and the clip is there. Just going to cut it just slightly below it. Well, so that's the front of the car pretty much stripped off. All I need to do is get the aerial out. I'm going to worry about that now when we kind of come around to the back and finish off there. But next thing to do is I want to take off the side trim and the mirrors, locks and all of that carry on. So we need to get the figure out how to get them off. I'd say they're probably going to be the trickiest of the things to remove. And the mirrors, I reckon we need to remove by taking off the door cards. Not the end of the world, but it needs to be done nonetheless. Let's get the trim off first of all though. I'm just gently giving a little bit of pressure. Yeah, I don't think that's how it's supposed to come off. I think this little piece here is the clue to it, so let's have a look at that. Yeah, you just you have to pry this out basically. It's just a little piece of trim, and then there's a screw in behind it. Alright, and there's the screw that I just guntered out of it. So we'll take that out as well over here. You know what, it's not the worst way of putting trim on. So pop that screw back in there. Now, there's one piece of trim removed. We'll get the next one off now. The right way. Deadly. I like that now. So what is the story with these little poppers that are holding them in? They're like little buttons or something like that. They're not the screws that are holding the front on. Well, unfortunately these are actually pop rivets. So that would suggest that somebody had replaced the pop rivets with screws in the front piece, because these are pop rivets here where the person just obviously guntered off the piece of trim. But let's drill them out then, so. And don't you love when rivets just start spinning? They're like a kind of a waterproof rivet by all accounts. Anyway, look, I'll drill them out. And you just have to probably hold them with the snips or something while you're drilling them to stop them from spinning. But try not to put too much pressure on, because you don't want to create a protruding dent in the car where the holes go, because yeah, that's just not going to look good, is it? Well, they're not too difficult to take off, in fairness. Alright, there we go, that's that off. Can't say I'm a huge fan of the riveting method, but sure, look, at least they don't fall off. There's the kind of the protruding plastic piece, like, which is it's just the seal, is still there in a couple of places, but that's alright, that'll come off easy enough. Don't worry, the car's getting resprayed, folks. It's all right. I wouldn't have done that to a car that was that wasn't getting resprayed. At least I hope not. All right, that's all the rivets removed and the holes drilled out and everything as well. So that's the trim removed from this side. So next thing I want to do is get the mirror off and the door handle lock. So let's get them done now. First thing I'm going to do is take off the fairly shonky looking door card. So I don't really mind taking that off because it looks absolutely desperate anyway, and it's going to have to be replaced. Or I'll see if I can fix it. Although I can't see how I'm going to fix that, to be honest with you. Let's get them off anyway, and we will reassess the situation then and see what's involved in getting that mirror off. Right, so there's two Phillips screws in there to remove that, so we're going to take that out first of all. And there's also a Phillips screw here. We'll take that out. They're most likely Phillips and not posi drive, folks. People tend to mix up the two. Posi drives that have a little kind of a cross on them, and these... Actually, I think they are posi drive. Anyway, yeah, I'll go and get a posi drive screwdriver. Yeah, we'll... I need to get the window wiper, or the window winder handle off, and there's a cover here and a cover here to remove the door pocket. And then I would imagine that door card just pulls off. I'm just going to use a little hook pick to get in there, and that pops that out nicely. Grand. A little bit of a backstory on this car. I was doing up a Beetle there recently, a teal coloured Beetle. If you were playing along at home and following my channel, you'd have seen that. And the guy who bought the Beetle off me, we did a part exchange agreement where I took this car off him and he took the Beetle, and he threw a few bob my way as well. So initially I was kind of like, not sure about that idea. And then I was like, actually, yeah, cool, and classic Ford, could be something cool to work on. So I actually said, you know what, let's do it. Let's make the deal. And yeah, I'm really happy with how with what I ended up with. So yeah, and the intention with this car is I'm going to do it up like I'm doing at the moment, and keep it for a little while, and then sell it on, and then replace it with another project car, do that up, and sell that on, and on I go until the quality of my my classic cars that I'm doing up improves over time. So should be interesting to see what I get hold of. The window winder handle, the centre just pops out of that again with the hook pick, and we can take off the little screw here. And what I'll do is I'll get a little bag, and we'll bag up all the door furniture. There we go. All right. So now, happy days. That's straightforward enough to get off. There's just a few clips. If you have a trim removal tool, use that. I don't have a trim removal tool and I really need to get one. In here are two 10mm nuts on the wing mirror, which can be accessed through here. And there's the wing mirror off. So I'm going to put the nuts back on there. And accessible through these two holes here are two screws on the back of the door handle. So I'm going to take them off. Jeez, there's nothing seized in this car so far. It's great. Of course, to say that, we're not exactly getting into the mechanical side of things yet. But that'll be... once we get the bodywork done, then we're going to do all the mechanical work then. There's a rod here that needs to be unhooked. Yeah, it seems the rod is just literally a case of just wiggling the door handle back and forth, and it sort of just hooks onto it. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I wonder, is it easier to unhook from the bottom? Yeah, it would be. So unhook from down here. Yeah, that's unhooked now from the lock mechanism. Alright, and just like that. See, you probably could have unhooked it there, but I was afraid of breaking that, and it's only plastic. So at least this way we're safe. So I'm just going to put those screws in there. And now last thing to do is we need to figure out how to remove the keyhole, and I imagine it's just probably a big circlip or something like that. That's usually how they're held in. Yeah, that thing there. That's all you need to do to remove that. And again, similar setup with the rod. Same crack with disconnecting the rod at the locking mechanism, and then the whole assembly comes out. So that's our lock, which is banjacked, so we're going to have to replace that anyway, but at least we have it out now. Our main focus at this point in time is to get the painting, get ready for painting, not fix things. We'll fix things afterwards. I'll make a shopping list. Now that I've got all the trim off the sides and the front of the car, and I've got the mirrors off, and I've got that aerial out as well. It's just a case of removing the nut on the top of it, and it drops down into the wing. We'll have to retrieve it at a later stage, but not a big deal. All of that's done, so now we can start looking at the back of the car. So not a huge amount to be done here. You've got obviously the number plate, the rear light clusters, the lock, and the wiper spindle, and this fella here as well. So let's get stuck in and get them off. I have to get that fog light off as well. The number plate is riveted on, so I'm going to actually just drill the rivets out of this now while we have the drill to hand. And I really don't want to damage this number plate. Alright, so there is the number plate off. I'll be keeping this. It's yeah, it's slightly faded and tatty, but it's in keeping with the car, and I really like it. So definitely won't be changing the number plates. So I need to take off this panel from the inside of the boot lid. Okay, so now the boot lock first of all. Bear in mind when you remove these things you can't open the boot anymore, so you have to be kind of mindful of that. What we can maybe do is just see there, goes out like that. And there's our boot lock off. Next thing to do is we're going to take out that wiper motor, because the spindle goes through and we need to remove that as well. So the only way to do that I can see is to actually remove the motor. Not a big deal, two 10mm bolts. Right, so I'm going to close the boot lid down a little bit, and we're just going to have a look and see what's holding that spindle in. I imagine there's a big nut on the far side of it, so I'm going to just close the... I'll make sure before I close the boot that I can actually open the bleeding thing again. Hang on. Right, what I might do is see if I can come up with some sort of a method for jerry-rigging that, because I have visions of myself getting locked out of this car from having removed all the handles. What I'm going to do first of all, before I do any of this, is I'm going to just actually push that up there so the boot won't close, because the locking mechanism is already closed. So let's just take the nut off that spindle. I'll show you now. Can't see a damn thing where you are. So now, I'll take the nut off that spindle, and I reckon that cap actually comes off there. So let's just very gently. Yeah, that's coming up. And I'd say there's going to be a nut underneath here. And there is. Okay, that's grand. Right, I just got a spanner for that. All right, happy days. So there's the wiper motor out. Straightforward enough job, really. Annoyingly, the rear washer jet is held on with a nut on the inside, so you kind of have to pull the headliner down a little bit. I was really hoping I wouldn't have to do that, but look, it's done now anyway, so I've got that off. And yeah, that's that bit out of the way. Next thing I want to do is take off the light clusters and the rear bumper, and then we're pretty well sorted. Removing the rear light clusters is pretty straightforward. There's two 8mm nuts, one at the top and one at the bottom. You need a deep socket to get them, but they're fairly easy to get to. Oh, there is a third one on the far side at the middle. Can't help but think that the engineers who designed the rear light clusters are not the same engineers who designed the front ones. I'm now prying the light cluster off its seal on the back, bearing in mind these light clusters do need replacing anyway, but it's like it's stuck on with bloody Tech 7. Oh, they're going to pieces. Yeah, I mean it is only those 3 nuts holding it on, but like, there we go. Yeah, they were stuck on with Tech 7. I'm sure there's supposed to be gaskets on the back of them, not bloody Tech 7, but anyway, that's we'll be removing all that. Let's get the one off on the other side. So there are the rear light clusters removed, and the boot lid is pretty much completely done, aside from the Ford badge. I'm going to take that off now in a minute. And I am going to now take off the rear bumper. So it seems to be just 4 nuts. 2 down here beside where the rear washer bottle is, and then there'll be 2 down the other side as well. And we'll slip that off and see about getting that fog light off, and then that'll do us. We'll get the washer bottle out here while we're at it. Just get it out of our way. I have to say, the boot floor in this is absolutely immaculate. There's no rust in it whatsoever. It's brilliant to see. Now, there we go. There's the rear bumper off. Very straightforward. See what I mean about the boot? Like that's surface rust off the bumper actually. These need to be removed in order to get the fog light out, so far as I can tell. So let's get them off now. See if that comes off now. Oh, look at that. This car is just a joy to work on. It really is. And there we go. Fog light removed. And that's just the wiring for the number plate light. What I'll do is I'll actually just leave that. Well, I might actually see if I can push the grommet through. Yeah, I'll push the grommet through, and then I can get rid of that as well. That's the job. Now, we just need to take off the Ford badge off the back now. And it's that easy. So now that I've got all the trim off it, I want to give it a wash. Now it sounds counterintuitive given the fact that there's loads of holes in the bodywork now from where I've removed things, but I'll just be careful not to blow too much water into them, and it's going to have plenty of time to dry before I'm doing any of the kind of spray painting or anything like that on it anyway. So we may as well knock the garage dust off it, and at least we can see what we're dealing with and not have to be battling our way through the dust that's already on it and just dealing with the dust that we create. Yeah, it's not running great, but that's further down the line. So let's get it washed. And there we go. Now we know what we're dealing with. So I have to get it back into the garage and start sanding. But for that, you'll have to wait for the next video, because we're going to get it in and I'm going to leave it to dry, and I want to get this video edited and upload. So I hope you'll join me for that, and please hit the subscribe button before you go, and I will see you in a future video. Thank you very much for watching.